did the process of like making a sculpture take? Drawing it, getting the materials, etc.?
If things go smoothly, because I usually write up my own contract, sometimes they throw a contract back at me based on other commercial projects or something, but from the time of signing the contract to the finished sculpture, if things go smoothly, it can take about a year. Because I have to do the model, get the contract approved, do the model, get it approved, then do the enlargement, and then it takes a minimum of between 3 and 4 months at the foundry.
And so what is the foundry? Like, can you explain, just because I don't know personally what that is?
Foundry is where they convert my clay model into a bronze sculpture. And it's a series of complex steps they have to go through. They have to make a mold of the model that I bring there. They have to then pour wax into that mold. It's divided into pieces. So they pour a thin skin of wax into that mold. They have to take the wax out, touch it up, make sure there's no little errors or glitches in it. They have to add more wax to it so that in the final mold, when the bronze is poured in, the air can go out, so you're filling it like a cup. So that takes lots of time. And then the second mold they make it out of, they put around the wax, is of a silicon, like sand type of mold in a slurry. They dip it in and then they put it in a vat that blows the sand around and builds up a crust. And that takes almost 3 weeks because they have to build it up thick enough to withhold the weight of the bronze, the molten bronze. Then they take that to a kiln, a big oven, and melt the wax out. They turn everything upside down so it all melts out. Then while it's still hot, they put it in a trough, a sand trough, and they pour the molten bronze in. And then they have to chip that mold off and weld everything back together again.
Because it's 2 pieces?
It's usually several pieces.
How do you get it down there, the clay model, without breaking?
I pack it very carefully.
How big of boxes do you think?
The crate that for the Ted Stevens one was 4 feet square by 5 feet high. A little over 5 feet high because it was on a pallet.
So what kind of packing material do you put around it?
I didn't put any packing material.
Oh, you just...
He's bolted down. He's sitting on a bench. I'll show you a picture of it. He's sitting on a bench, so the bench is bolted down to a 4x4 piece of plywood, and then that's bolted down to the pallet. His figure is bolted down to the seat of the bench, and the armature, the structure inside the sculpture, is rebar. So he's pretty solid. And then I put styrofoam around that, and then I put clay on top of that. So he's as light a weight as I can make him, but it's pretty solid.
And where does it have to go? Where's the foundry?
Foundry is in eastern Oregon, and it might as well be halfway to the moon. It is so hard to get stuff there. I had to have it flown to Seattle and then have it trucked to eastern Oregon. And the truck only goes to this small town once or twice a week. So...
Does it ever come out in the bronze figure and it's not what you wanted? I mean, has it ever...
That's why I go to the foundry. I make sure it comes out the way I want.
Okay.
And is that the foundry that you've stuck with your whole career? Because
No, I've used various foundries at various times. That's the nearest one that I'm familiar with their work and have confidence in.
What has been your favorite experience?
favorite experience. It's just handling the clay. I love making a form and feeling the movement of the clay going around the form. It's just a very tactile thing. I think very similar or basically the same kind of thing as when I do pottery. And sometimes if I have a slow time when I can't really get inspired or something, I'll go back to making some pottery. Because I love feeling that clay and and with pottery, you make the form change so quickly that it's fun to see and feel.
Okay. So this is a question we've asked everybody, and it is, how does old make you feel?
Frustrated. Frustrated because my head says you can still do all these things, and my body says, I don't think so. But there's a lot that I enjoy about being old. I enjoy a little wider perspective on things. I enjoy having a little more patience. And that's been hard earned. Yeah, I enjoy a lot about being old, but the physical things are frustrating.
Okay. So
Oh, and an occasional memory gap.
Oh, you just remembered that.
Yes, I just remembered that. Excuse me.
So, do you feel the need for a better connection between the youth of Cordova and the older generation?
Actually, I do. I think that this project is really very nice because when our daughter was growing up, I got to know a lot of her contemporaries and so on. And frankly, now that they're all grown up, I don't even recognize them half the time. So, yeah, I see younger folks, and I think it would be really cool to have more of a connection.
What I've personally noticed with everyone we've interviewed, like Darla said a similar thing, how when with her kids, she was more connected, but as her kids grew older,